Good evening. I'm gonna try to do my video in reference to the ABA, the beginning. I have a lot of distractions. I apologize for that. It's just very difficult the way we live right now, but I'm trying to be useful and I try to leave something out there for parents to help their children, because it's very important to know what is ABA, how it works, and so forth, because I lost a whole year because I didn't have a good ABA technician, and I did not know about this for a whole year. And then when I got a good technician, I learned a lot, and then I started going beyond even that level. I was always engaged in every session, but today I want to speak about where do you even start. There's sometimes severe cases, and it's hard to talk about everything in general, because if I would have a child ahead of me, in front of me, I would certainly come up with a better plan. So that's why it's going to be kind of general, and that before you even go into ABA, you may have a child that doesn't even respond or goes into aggression. But there's one thing you need to do with those is observe, and as a parent, not as an ABA tech, as a parent, you do know what they like, what they want, what they play with, what they want for them to stay engaged for a long time with something. That's something you should know. They do that because they're very fixated on certain things. Like my child in this aspect, he was always engaged with iPhone, Android, digital tablet, digital media, so I knew either one would work. It just, some would he would spend more time, the others less time. And he also was interested in some toys. Usually you select ones with noise, lights, music, especially music. I keep saying that use music to teach your children. But when you start with a severe case, you want to start teaching them share. It's the most important thing. They have to share their most desirable item with you. And it has to start with the parent. So this is something I learned being on autistic conference, and I visited several, and I learned a lot from professionals there as well. And let's say, I guess that's prettier, your child loves this toy, okay, and they're gonna hold on to that at all times, and you need to build relationship with them for them to let you have that item. And how are you gonna do this? Sorry. How are you gonna do this? Well, you just, can I take, share? You just take it, and before they even open their mouth, give it back to them right there. Next time, you keep saying, you pick a word. It's going to be always the same word. Let's share. Let's share. Share. You take, and before they open their mouth for screaming at you, give it back. And then eventually, they will let you have it, because they know they're getting this back. It's been repetition, right? Because you keep returning it before they even need to go into meltdown or tantrum or whatnot. So you just keep playing that game before ABA. The most desirable item you want to share with them, they need to share with you. They need to give it to you. And then you just go extend that time. You don't need clock for that either. You just gotta know. You take it, you start seeing some body language, facial expressions. Hold it until you see that, then give it back, right? So then you're gonna just do it longer. It's a smaller steps, but this is where you start. You're just gonna share that most desirable item. This is how you're gonna do just that. Increase duration. by holding to that and then giving it back. That's what you're gonna start with, okay? This is a precondition, because you're gonna be teaching them for that reinforcer, and they have to stay longer without it to learn something, okay? So that's something I learned in autistic conference. Okay, let's go next. Okay, what is next important thing when you start doing ABA therapy? That's going to be your environment. It has to be always in the same location. You have to make some arrangements for those technicians or yourself to come in and work with your child. And what you do, you need to get a table and you need to get 2 chairs, as simple as that. And you need to position them in your room accordingly. And I'll show you my sketch, how that should be designed. It's like this. Let's say this is the wall, this is the working table, this is where your child will be sitting, and this is where you will be sitting. Because you're going to be physically blocking them with your own body. And then when they get better, then you can move on to this spot right here, okay? Right there. But for the beginners, you're going to be sitting next to your child and blocking them, because what we're targeting here is elopement. Elopement. They do not want to stay at the table. And this is where you're going to start, okay? My child has severe sensory processing disorder. It's verbal and it's also physical. He cannot just sit. We had to start teaching him sit at the table. This is also behavior. So before you can start teaching anything, you have to start teaching them the right behavior. And if they play at the table, at the sofa, in bed, that's not exactly the table, right? But while you're on the floor, you do this. You play with that. And let them share their toys with you. Okay. Why I want parents to be engaged? Because with ABA nowadays, this is why I don't get this anymore. Very high turnover. These people come constantly, almost no experience. And then they need time to pair up with your child. That will be weeks, maybe even months. Oh, I don't know how it is nowadays. I mean, it's been 2 years since I denied the services, but every one of them will need pair. And if you get one and then another one, it's going to be pairing, and nothing happening. They're just going to baby. That's called babysitting. They're just pairing because they're playing. They're not teaching, they're not controlling anything, right? They're pairing because the child will not give them anything, because the child doesn't know them, doesn't trust them, so they need that time. So that's why parents probably be in a better position to just start doing, you know, some of these things on your own, right? So that's when it comes to ABA technician versus parents, because you don't have to pair. You skip that step. Now, on the first ABA, before it even begins, you're gonna be targeting behavior again before you start teaching anything, okay? And that would be teaching them to sit and teaching them to wait. That's where you're gonna start. And things that you will need, it's typical board that would look like that. Let's see. That would look like that. You're gonna do first, next. You're gonna do pack card here, one, and leave room for another, because that's going to be second, but not right away. Just going to do one, and then you're going to put on here the next. That will be your reinforcer, or the most desirable item they like to play with, okay? So when you play with them, while they're sitting, you're gonna put that toy in here and then reinforcer there. How do you get to this point? That's not that difficult, actually. When they go to sleep the night before, it's the first thing you're gonna do the next day in the morning. You just get that board and hide that reinforcer. You wanna hide that. But you're gonna take a picture of that and put it there because they know this is what they're gonna get. They may have a meltdown because you're changing their routine at this point. They're not getting what they start the day with, but you just sit down, block them, and say, let's just sit and play with other toys. So you have to have other toys while you're sitting at the table and just playing with them. But then when they finish playing, and this is another thing that is helpful, I took a picture of that. You will need a timer, and that timer will look like this. Okay, it's on Amazon. It's basically timer. It's also visual. It's moving. It may even get them interested to look how that red circle becomes larger or smaller. And you're gonna, let's say, set it for 1 minute. Depends what your child is, where the child is at development level. You're gonna set, let's say, 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes even. And you play, and the buzz comes off. The alarm comes off. There you go. You got your reinforcer. And you just keep doing these trials. Maybe just start every morning. Before they're gonna get to the routine and everything, you're gonna train them with just this one trial each day, giving them reinforcer through the table, through the sitting, through the alarm. Eventually they will get an idea. They will get it because they have to sit at the table. So let's see what else. So once they get sitting longer, as they sit, you can put another thing. You can put, okay, one alarm went off, you put, like, let's say a star, whatever. There's another minute, another alarm, then you're gonna put another star, and then you're gonna give them the final, that reinforcer here. Okay, let's see. When they get used to sitting at the table, waiting for that, you can extend that time, and you extend that time visually. That's going to be a visual prompt, and that's when you want to go to a token board. So you move from first, next, you're going to move to a token board that looks like that. You start token board with the same setup, but you would have more room for tokens. So you're going to have already two because you established that on that one. I mean, you already established this on that one. And then it's just gonna keep adding up. Each time goes off, here is the token. Next minute, next token. Next minute, and then you increase the time in between because they're not gonna track the clock. You are in control. You're just gonna extend the time, right? And sometimes they may get behaviors. This is when you have control. You don't do that though, so they don't see it. But you have control to shift that clock and make that buzz come off. Oh, look, it's time. That's before even you start seeing signs for meltdown too. But before, you want to make sure they don't see it, because my son learned to do it and he would just turn that off. So kind of run out of options for an extension. But that's what you do with them too. You just kind of hide it away from them, and if you see this meltdown about to happen on a tantrum, then you just move that clock and just like, just the buzz came off. Oh, there's your toy, you can go and play now. And I would recommend to start doing this every single day for a little bit, because you know, once they already got that, it's going to be hard for you to take it back. So it's going to be many days trial. But eventually, you can probably go and extend that. When you start also doing sharing, you're going to give it back to them more frequently. And when you establish that sitting and waiting for some time, Then you can go into teaching itself, whatever that is, ABC, letters, numbers, letter sounds, depends. Probably forgot something as always. But yeah, the first thing you do is you don't teach them anything. You just teach them to sit, and you teach them to wait with the toys, and the most important reinforcer. And then you gradually extend that time each session. You control their behavior by, if you see signs, you're just gonna switch that alarm to make that goes. But they know as soon as that rings, they're gonna get that. And it's just repetition after repetition after repetition. So this is where you want to start. I just forgetting something again. I don't have that many notes, and I don't have a child in front of me to kind of like get hands-on. But these are some of the tips that you can start practicing. But first is first. You need to do this separately as a parent. Start taking that reinforcer from them, giving them back, take it longer, return it. And then if you go to a day trial, you're going to be able to do it only one time. But when they get into routine, they will be able to respond, and they will be able to start working for that reinforcer too. Because they know you're playing, now they're going to be doing something new, and it all has to be fun. You're going to be using physical and visual prompt here. You're not going to be using auditory one. I hope it's helpful. It's 16 minutes. It's going to take me probably another 5 hours to upload that one, but if I think of something else, I will come up. And yes, there's going to be smaller steps. It's going to be many steps, but if you do it consistently, they get into that routine, and that visual talking board, they know they need to do something to get that. Yes, but they need to trust you enough to give that most desirable item. And as a parent, you already know what they like, what they want. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. I talk to you soon.